found the following fascinating article in a December 1968 magazine, and it's titled, "Snow Was No Sweat Then." Now that the overture to Christmas has been played and all the Santa Clauses properly introduced, we in the North Country look expectantly in the newspapers for daily weather forecasts indicative of snow and ice. Each prediction of flurries holds the potential of a white blanket inches deep, bringing the possibility of exercise with shovels and brooms. People generally are in good physical condition for handling the first snows, having only recently had their workouts with leaves. In fact, layers of tree feathers, as some people describe them, their bright color still showing, are a part of the first covering. Snow doesn't seem to cast the same spell over the little people as it did in the so-called good old days. It was the general custom then to let it lie where it fell on the highways and byways. Most vehicular travel was geared to the stuff, and wheels were replaced with steel-shod runners. Skidding a foe of autous was essential to progress when snows were deep and underlaid with ice. In the horse and buggy period, travelers depended upon blankets, animal hides, heated bricks, and soapstones for warmth. There were no radiators on sleighs to hold antifreeze. Filling stations were at that time called barns, and sleighs and bobsleds didn't pour off production lines as new models do every year. Many horsemen acquired new animals, but not because of wear and tear. As in the automotive field, there were owners who liked to show off by challenging each other to a race down main drags with bells ringing and hooves thudding. Out of the corners of their eyes they watched the onlookers, hoping that their performances might get space in the sports column devoted to equine activities in the hometown newspapers. There were no highways then, comparable to today's, that is. There was I-94, US 127, etc. But when a horseman wanted to show his speed, he preferred the main streets because they usually were in better shape than the other roads, packed down but not scraped. Many of the boys raced on nearby lakes, but there were no heated grandstands for spectators, nor any other refinements such as have been developed in recent years. Winter speeding in the old days could be likened to today's sports on drag strips. Horses were at their best over short courses. There were no tickets handed out by police or constables to drivers who seemed to be pushing on the reins while they poured sweet talk into the ears of their nags, urging them on to victory over the icy, unpaved roadways. A flip of a whip sometimes did the trick of adding speed near the finish. The response was akin to the increased foot pressure on the accelerator of an automobile. Such an act by a motorist uses more gasoline, but it is doubtful if the wiggle of a gad around a horse's ears resulted in the requirement of more oats in the stall feed box after a go-go on the main line. Don't think for a minute, however, that there were no speed limitations on vehicles in the horse and buggy age. About the time that automobiles were coming in for tire space on city streets, there was an 8-mile-per-hour limit on main streets. 8 miles per hour. Early day records showed fines were levied on motorists for exceeding the speed, but it recalled that steam-powered autos could travel much faster than those powered by gasoline motors. A magic metaphor in reckoning swiftness of vehicles including railroad trains was a mile a minute. Some of the pioneering steam cars could go that fast, but the average was far under that figure, except on a racetrack. In the old days, when there were many covered bridges, warning signs were posted at the ends of such structures, threatening fines for drivers or horses or horse-drawn vehicles who exceeded 8 to 10 miles per hour. Young fellows out for rides in buggies with a girlfriend liked to show off by slapping the lines and yelling "giddy up" as they crossed covered bridges. Noise of horses' feet and buggy wheels on the wooden floors created sounds like thunder, disturbing the eardrums of anyone under the bridge or residing nearby. Adding to the din would be the screams of the girl passengers, some in delight, some in fear at the overdose of excitement. There was a certain quiet to winter traffic in the days when the snow carpet was heavy. Bobsled runners squeaked in the ruts of streets or roads. Sometimes there were rumbles, too, remindful of the sound made by the wheels of circus wagons in a parade. Farmers usually used the same wagon beds on their bobsleds. The change from one to the other took only a few minutes. Once in use, however, rural folk preferred snow-covered roads from the first heavy fall until the breakup in the spring. Sometimes it happened that way too, which probably is why we are told that winters were heavier in the olden days than now. Anyhow, they were filled with joyful experiences. Do you remember?